You see a big return on your investment and you think, yes, I nailed it. But what if I told you that number is only half the story? Today, we're asking a really important question. Are you actually getting paid enough for the risk you're taking?
So let's jump right in with a scenario. It's a classic trap, and honestly, it shows just how misleading a single return number can be.
All right, picture this. You've got two investments. Investment A, it gave you a solid 15% return last year. And investment B, well, what do you know? It also gave you a 15% return. At first glance, they look exactly the same. So which one is better? I mean, it kind of feels like a trick question, doesn't it? But trust me, the answer is absolutely crucial if you want to build a portfolio that can actually handle the wild swings of the market.
And that's because they tell two totally different stories. That 15% headline number, it hides the most important part, the journey. If you only focus on the final destination, you're completely blind to the risks you might have been taking to get there.
Okay, so let's pull back that curtain and look at the missing piece of this puzzle. To really truly understand an investment, you got to ask, what was the price of that return? And that price, my friends, is measured in volatility. This leads us straight to this really important idea, the risk-adjusted return. You can think of it like grading an investment not just on its final score, but on how well it played the game. I mean, getting a huge return isn't nearly as impressive if it was a white-knuckle, hold-on-for-dear-life kind of gamble, right? And the way we measure that risk is with something called volatility. Just think of it as the bumpiness of the ride. A nice, smooth, steady climb to the top, that's low volatility. But a wild roller coaster with those gut-wrenching drops and crazy peaks, that's high volatility, and a heck of a lot more risk. So let's go back to our two investments. They both ended up at the same destination, that 15% return. But investment A was that calm, steady drive. Investment B, that was the high volatility nightmare. Same result on paper, but a completely different and way, way riskier experience.
Okay, so one ride was bumpier. We get that. But, bumpy isn't really a number you can put in a spreadsheet. So how do we actually quantify this? How can we compare these two investments on a fair apples-to-apples basis?
Well, there's a fantastic tool for this, and it's called the Sharpe ratio. It's a go-to metric for the pros, and what it does is measure an investment's performance after you factor in the risk. It's how we find the investments that are actually working smarter, not just harder. Now, don't worry, we're not going to get lost in the math here. The logic is actually pretty straightforward. First, you figure out your excess return. That's just how much you made above a super safe, practically risk-free investment. Then you take that extra profit and you divide it by the bumpiness, the volatility of the investment.
And here's the key takeaway. The only thing you really need to remember. The higher the Sharpe ratio, the better. It means you're getting more bang for your risk buck, a better return for the amount of stress you had to endure.
All right, so we have this new tool in our toolkit. Let's apply it to our original puzzle and finally crown a clear winner between our two 15% investments. And this is where the magic happens. Look at this. Total return? Exactly the same, 15%. But check out the volatility. Investment A was so much smoother. And that difference creates a massive gap in the Sharpe ratio. Investment A comes in with a really solid 1.62, while investment B is, well, it's way down there at 0.65. It's not even close. So, the verdict is in, and it's a total knockout. Investment A is, without a doubt, the smarter choice. It gave you the exact same return for way less risk, less stress, and a much, much smoother ride. Okay, now, before you run off and start calculating the Sharpe ratio for everything you own, hold on a second. This is an incredibly powerful metric, but it is not a magic wand. And this is something you absolutely have to burn into your brain. Think of these metrics as amazing tools for comparison, but they are not, and I repeat, not guarantees for the future. So how do you use these tools the right way? 3 simple things to remember. 1, they're built on past data, and what happened yesterday doesn't always predict tomorrow. 2, you got to compare like with like, a tech stock versus another tech stock, not a tech stock versus a real estate fund. And 3, never look at the stuff in a vacuum. Always use it alongside the absolute return to get the complete picture. By looking past that flashy headline number and asking about the risk, you can make so much smarter decisions and ultimately build a stronger portfolio. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Now that you know the difference, now that you can see the whole picture, take a good hard look at your own investments. Are the returns you're getting really worth the risk you're taking?